The unrest in America continues tonight in Western Mass. Good Thursday evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Pisano. Rallies taking place this evening in two communities as protesters call for an end to racial inequality in the wake of George Floyd's death. And we have team coverage for you tonight. Leon Purvis standing by live for us in Westfield. But we begin in East Hampton, and that's where we find Audrey Russo. Audrey?
Folks on the green have been out here for coming up on 2 hours out here on the Rotary in East Hampton. I'm going to back up so you guys can see. Earlier they were lining close to the street holding up signs. Now we have some folks making some remarks, so the group has pulled in a little bit, but they are still holding up their signs, wearing their masks, sending a signal of solidarity. Now earlier this afternoon, the police chief and the mayor both led a peaceful demonstration where they took a knee for 8.5 minutes. They say they needed to send a message that what happened to George Floyd was wrong.
I wanted to do something where, we can't feel or be a part of community of color, but we can start here. Believe it or not, I'm speechless.
We're not okay with what happened to Mr. Floyd. So we wanted to come out and show that, we support our community, we're members of our community, and we're as outraged as our community members are by the acts of these criminal police officers.
After that demonstration, protesters moved here to the Rotary. Organizers say the protest is meant to be peaceful. One protester explains why he came out to demand change.
I'm tired of being harassed by police in my own life. I'm tired of seeing my friends. I'm tired of thinking that every couple of days I'm going to be the person that dies. It's not isolated. I'm not safe because I'm here in the Happy Valley, and I want to remind people of that.
Now, again, these protesters are out here. This began around 4:30. We're going to continue to keep you updated also tonight, later on tonight, with our coverage of these demonstrations. One thing to note about this demonstration, as many of the other ones here in Western Mass, there are a lot of young people, young families out here demanding change alongside other folks. And again, we're going to continue to keep you updated. But for now, I'm reporting live in East Hampton. Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thank you for that live report. And our team coverage continues now out of Westfield as protesters there are rallying as they hear from speakers. And Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis is live at the town green with more on this part of our coverage. Leon.
Chris, these passionate protesters have been rallying since 4:30, and the crowd has grown since then. I mean, just take a look right now. You see someone speaking right now. You see the protesters are listening in, as you just said, Chris. Now, you had different variety of speakers, but this protest was actually organized by a student and teacher. They put the word out, and they're surprised by the turnout. This idea was not only inspired by what happened to George Floyd. One of the organizers, as well as one of today's speakers, say they need to get the message out to their home community.
I attended both the Southwick and the Northampton protest, and I felt like Westfield needed a protest as well to open the eyes to the community of what goes on in our hometown.
I'm happy about the protest. I'm happy about it, but I feel like it took it this far for, what just happened last week, for us around the world to acknowledge like this is really happening.
And one more note, as cars are passing around here, they're beeping their horns. They're holding up signs and putting their fists in the air. Now, we're going to be out here every step of the way with you, both on air and online, to give you the latest details. For now, live in Westfield, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Seeking justice, seeking justice, seeking justice for the family of George Floyd.
A memorial service held today in Minneapolis, Minnesota for George Floyd. Friends and family gathering to honor his life this afternoon. The Reverend Al Sharpton delivering his eulogy. All 4 former Minneapolis police officers involved with his arrest are now in custody, charged in connection with his killing. Wednesday, charges against 3 officers on the scene were filed, and the charges against Officer Derek Chauvin were upgraded. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo sat down with a retired judge to get more background on those charges and how they differ from Massachusetts law.
4 officers are facing charges in the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Derek Chauvin, who was recorded holding his knee on Floyd's neck for several minutes, now faces second-degree murder charges, the penalty being up to 40 years behind bars. Former Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court Judge John Greaney tells Western Mass News second-degree murder is when the act isn't planned out ahead of time. However,
you knew at some point when you had him on the ground and putting the knee on his neck that you were doing something that would probably kill him or seriously injure him, and you did it, you continued to do it.
Last week, Chauvin was initially charged with second-degree manslaughter and third-degree murder. The latter, which only carries a penalty of up to 25 years in jail, is a charge Greaney says we don't have in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, it would probably be manslaughter.
Judge Greaney says that it is common in Massachusetts, Minnesota, any state, for prosecutors to file an initial charge and then upgrade it when more information and evidence comes in.
When you see or a criminal act occurring, or what a reasonable person in their case would assume is would know that it's a criminal act, and you are there to possibly give assistance, which they were.
The same day Chauvin's charges were upgraded, the other 3 officers at the scene of Floyd's death were also charged with aiding and abetting a second-degree murder and aiding and abetting a second-degree manslaughter.
So you're there to help the principal perpetrator, Officer Chauvin, if he needs any help. And under Minnesota law and Massachusetts law, you are participating in his criminal offense. Particularly if you're sharing the same mindset that he is.
In Springfield, Audrey Russo, Western Mass News.
Now to our coronavirus special coverage. Here's a look at today's numbers of COVID-19 cases. So far, the state reports 98,376 confirmed cases. That's up 412 from yesterday. Officials say there are now 3,687 probable cases, up 59 from yesterday. And there are 50 more confirmed deaths today, with no new probable deaths from COVID-19. The statewide total, the death toll, now standing at 7,062. Retail stores and malls across the state are tentatively scheduled to open their doors to shoppers again on Monday, with new guidelines in place. Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane is live for us in Springfield now with more on the new protocols. Lindsay.
Chris, I spoke to one local store owner who says they've been following all the guidelines, and if the green light is given next week, they'll be ready to open.
Social distancing signs, keeping people disinfecting, hand sanitizers.
Stores and malls may look a little different next week, as the Massachusetts Phase 2 reopening plan is tentatively scheduled to begin on Monday, loosening the restrictions and allowing shoppers back inside stores.
We're actually looking forward to it because malls are our livelihood, and I think a good percentage of people are going to go out, but a good percentage of them are still going to stay in. We're just glad that hopefully something will get started.
According to state guidelines, stores will have to operate at a 40% capacity or 8 people, including staff, per 1,000 square feet. People must also wear masks, stay 6 feet apart, and all seating, food courts, play areas, and arcades will stay temporarily closed. James Dent, owner of Sports Zone in the Holyoke Mall, tells Western Mass News that the mall is planning on having 3 entrances to control the flow of people, and he says the capacity regulations shouldn't be a problem.
Normally, you usually don't have that many people in your store, besides Christmas, unless you're having some type of real big sale.
He says as they await the official reopening date, his store is preparing to have their employees back at work.
All of our employees, most of them have been longtime employees, and they're ready to come back. So as soon as we get the word.
Governor Baker is expected to announce the official reopening date on June 6th, but aiming for a June 8th start. Live in Springfield, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
Lindsay, thank you for that live report. Now at 6, Chicopee High School held a car parade for their class of 2020. Parents and students lined up their cars at the high school and then drove through a mapped out route. Once on the road, many, as you hear, beeping from their cars, cheering on the graduates. And Western Mass News spoke to one sophomore about why it was so important for her to show support for the upperclassmen.
We're here to support the seniors in our club because they didn't get a graduation, so we just want to do something nice for them and help them feel accomplished.
The fire and police department also in attendance, as you can see and hear, to show their support for the class of 2020. And for more coverage on the coronavirus emergency as it continues to develop, just log on to our free Western Mass News streaming app.
After a mainly sunny start to the day, the clouds have started to move back in. We're mostly cloudy up and down the Pioneer Valley, but our temperatures were definitely on the higher side. We saw the highs reach into the upper 80s. We're now sitting at 85 in Springfield, 86 in Westfield, 85 degrees in Northampton. Importantly, our humidity has been on the lower side, though, so it hasn't been overly oppressive. That will change, though, tomorrow as these storms move in our direction. We do have a chance for some storms overnight and also another round into tomorrow evening. You see the clouds that are definitely thickening up throughout Western Mass. Even as we look at our futurecast, we can see some of the showers mainly staying to our south. I still think we see some thunderstorms into the overnight. Dry for the midday before our additional shower and storm chances increase by tomorrow evening. We'll have to watch these ones closely. Another round heading into Saturday before we start to dry out for the rest of the weekend. We'll look at the full 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. Chris?
All right, Jacob, thank you. Still to come on this Thursday. On tonight's Funding Your Family, Western Mass News is getting answers on how to save on your medical prescriptions. Plus, we'll take a look at how residents across the border are protesting the death of George Floyd. Stay with us.